What is up, everybody? Packer fans, back again. Wanted to do an updated 53-man roster prediction going into the Packers Saints second preseason game of the season. I did one before training camp started, kind of what my idea of what the roster might look like come September. Now I have an updated one. Some players got cut, some guys have stepped up, things have shaken out a little bit. It's a little more obvious of it's certain positions who's going to be on the team week one. But I did make some changes. Things are shaken up. Guys have stepped up. Guys who I didn't even have on the list at all are now not just on a side note. They're actually on the 53-man prediction. It was tough because there's positions where you think you might need to keep extra guys, and that kind of takes away from other spots. So there's guys who I thought would make the team who aren't going to probably, and a lot of these injuries are going to have a lot to do with where they keep guys and how they handle this whole situation. Guys like Kylan Hill, the running back, he's going to kind of throw a wrench into how many running backs the Packers keep. Getting Bakhtiari back, obviously, is another. How many offensive linemen do they keep? I thought 10 at first. I think I still have 10 now. But if Bach's back and Jenkins is ready to go, I think they can let go of one of those other guys, maybe cut it down to 9 and add a piece somewhere else. Still kind of something to watch. I'm not really sure how it's all going to progress, how it's all going to play out, what they're going to do in order to get the best offensive linemen they can get. But right now, it's, keeping 10 is kind of what the Packers are going to have to do, just based on the fact that there's so many moving parts with the injuries, and obviously you want to protect Rodgers, and you have to, create the running lanes for Jones and Dillon. I think those guys are going to have a big year. So, just trying to figure out where these guys fit, who is thinking about special teams, thinking about, kick return and punt return and all those different aspects, watching how some of these guys have played so far. I wanted to do this before the Saints game because I think the Saints game is really going to separate a lot of these guys, and then I'm going to do one right before the 53-man prediction, or the roster actually comes out. I'm going to do another prediction right before it comes out. So this is the updated one. I did one, like I said, a few weeks ago. You can go back and watch that one and see what the differences are. But obviously at quarterback, we know that there's no changes. I had Aaron Rodgers starting, Jordan Love backing him up. We know Danny Elling's on the roster, but that's just kind of a preseason body guy. He's probably going to be on the practice squad just so the Packers have a third option in case something happens. But so far, it's just going to be those two guys on the roster. Years past, we kept Tim Boyle and Jordan Love, so that was 3 quarterbacks, which did take away from a spot for somebody else in a different position. So having those two guys, obviously the back-to-back MVP, and then Jordan Love, who we hope to see do something tomorrow against the Saints. But those are the 2 quarterbacks. Then at running back, this is where it kind of starts to get tricky already. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones obviously are going to be the starters. Then what do the Packers do after that? Do they keep a third guy, Hill, as just an option? Do they, keep 2 other guys and wait for Hill to come back and then cut one of those guys? Do they only keep 3 in hopes that when Hill comes back, they can just add him right away? Or what do they do? Because Tyler Goodson's looked good. So I did not have him making the 53 in the first prediction. I have him making it in this prediction. He looks like he's done everything he can do to be on this team. Like I said, Kylan Hill is still coming back from his ACL tear, and Patrick Taylor has not. He had an injury in training camp already, and he's just not played great. He's had some nice runs here and there, but for the most part, I think it's going to be Dillon, Jones, and Goodson. I know they have Dexter Williams. I don't see him making the team after just kind of getting brought back in. I think he's just a preseason, camp body, but Taylor's the guy that, kind of the holdover from last year. We will see if he can jump into that 4th spot while they wait for Hill to heal. But I think it's going to be Jones, Dillon, and Goodson. I'm pretty sure Hill will be back sooner than later, so I don't see them keeping another running back. I'm not really sure they need it, but that's a position to watch. But like I said, you keep 10 offensive linemen, you can't keep 4 running backs. But I would like them to have an extra one just in case, Dillon or Jones got hurt. You have another guy that can rotate in. So that's going to be something to watch. I hope Hill can get healthy sooner than later. And, if he is there, then I'd probably have Hill and Goodson and just call it 4. But with Hill being out, I don't know if I want Taylor there. I think I'd rather have a different guy at a different position until Hill came back, and then we'd sort out the rest of the roster then. So keeping 3 at that spot. And then at wide receiver, what I want to do is change it up a little bit because I had Samari Tor making it. I didn't really know about Ishmael Hyman at that time, but right now we pretty much have Alan Lazard as a lock, Randall Cobb as a lock, and Sammy Watkins as a lock as the starters. Lazard wide receiver 1, Watkins wide receiver 2, and Cobb is like that slot wide receiver 3 guy. Not too bad, kind of not the mix you thought it would be or, you'd expect, So, like I said, 2 years ago, you wouldn't have thought it would be this at all. Cobb wasn't even on the Packers. Watkins was with the Chiefs, and Lazard was, probably was backing up Devontae, and no one really knew if he could be, a starter or like a 1. So, those 3 guys, locks. The rookies, Romeo Doubs, he's going to be a lock. Christian Watson, obviously drafted in the 2nd round, he's going to be a lock. Where he fits in, we will see. I think punt return is going to be his role initially, but he does have some, playmaking ability on offense. I think he'll get going on the offensive side of the ball with Rodgers. It's just going to take him a little bit of time. Then we have Amari Rodgers, who I keep forgetting about him when I talk about the receivers. He's a guy that's a lock too. So those are the 4 guys from last year. Lazard, Cobb, Watkins, and Rodgers. Watkins wasn't here last year, but those 4 guys. And then you add Doubs and Watson. Those are the 2 rookies. So you're already at 6 just with those guys. That's why I put Samari Tor on the practice squad. I just don't think maybe he's ready yet. If they kept him, that'd be 8 because I have Winfrey making this team. Juwann Winfrey's been, kind of on the practice squad the last couple of years, knocking on the door, trying to get on this roster. He has been in some games in the later on in the season after guys get hurt and everything, so he does have some, actual game reps, but he's kind of been the guy that's been on the outside looking in. And after this training camp, Rodgers kind of gave him the salute that, be more like Winfrey, be more like 88, and he shouted out 87 too. So I think Winfrey makes this roster. That'll be 7 receivers. That's kind of a lot. I'd like to be more at 6 and have that 6th guy kind of be that kick returner. But with the question marks, with the young guys, with the question marks with Lazard and Cobb, and Watkins even, there's question marks with all these guys. I think all of them have huge upsides and can play. But will they translate on the field? Will they, get that relationship with Rodgers? Obviously, Rodgers and Devontae were on the same wavelength for many years. And it's going to take some time for these guys to get it going. But I think those will be the 7. So that's 15 right there. Or no, that's 12 right there with the receivers. And now we go to tight ends. I have us keeping 4. That's pretty easy at first. Tanyan, back from his ACL tear. Back faster than Kylan Hill, and they actually tore their ACL in the same game against Arizona, October 29th. So to see him back early is awesome. Then we have Mercedes Lewis, the wily old vet that's going into like his 17th or 18th season. He's 38 years old like Rodgers. He's set to, I think if he plays all these games and then half of next year, he can break the record for most games played for a tight end. Pretty awesome to have him, still around, still blocking at a high level. He's like having another left tackle or another tackle next to the tackle on the offensive line. That's how good Mercedes Lewis is at blocking. And then the other 2 tight ends, they let go of Dominic Daphne. Tyler Davis hasn't really come on, but I do think he makes this squad. They were so high on him coming into camp. And then Josiah DeGuara, I think they give him 1 more year in the system to see what he can do. If he doesn't show up this year, I think he is gone next year. But those are going to be the 4 tight ends. I don't see Alize Mack making it. He's kind of on the bubble. We'll see what happens in this Saints game. Maybe we'll have him on the roster next prediction. But I think they only keep 4. They really can't keep more than that. Tanyan and Lewis are solid. If DeGuara can kind of come on a little bit, and if Tyler Davis can give you anything at all, that'll be huge. So those will be the 4 tight ends, and that puts us at, what are we at, 17? So we're at 16 now. So then offensive line, we're keeping 10. That'll put us already at 26. So that's a lot of offensive linemen having 10. I'd prefer to have like 8, maybe like 3 guys and then a backup center and then 2 guys that can back up at like either position or a left tackle at least. And we have that, but with the question marks with Bakhtiari, with Elkin Jenkins just coming back from his ACL, Josh Myers coming off an injury from last year. Obviously, he's been playing well this training camp, but you never know. And then you have young guys, Royce Newman, John Runyan Jr., Zach Tom, Sean Ryan, Jay Canson, and Yash Nijamin from last year. All these guys can play, but how are they going to fare when it comes to elite, number one defensive players and all this trying to chase after Rodgers? It's need to put the best 5 out there. I think Jenkins is going to be good to go week 1, so that's going to solidify that right side. If Bach can get back, then we have the bookends, that left tackle and right tackle, and that's going to be huge. But until then, they have to keep guys that can rotate in. Zach Tom can play multiple positions. We know that, Newman can play multiple positions. Jake Hansen seems like he can kick outside and go to guard. And then Cole Van Lanen's a guy that can play multiple positions. So I had Rashid Walker, the rookie from Penn State, on the initial 10-man or the 53-man prediction, but I don't see him making it. He'll be a practice squad guy. I don't have any fear of him getting stolen to a different roster. But the 10 guys I do have are Bakhtiari. Well, Bakhtiari, if he's on the PUP list, he won't count technically right away, I don't think, against the 53, but when he does get activated, they'll have to release a guy. So maybe it'll be 9, but I just am calling Bach, Jenkins, Josh Myers, Royce Newman, John Runyan Jr., Zach Tom, Sean Ryan, Yash, Jake Hansen, and Cole Van Lanen, like I was saying. That's the 10 guys. Like I said, it gets complicated when you have these guys on the PUP list. Bakhtiari, Mason Crosby's on the PUP list. I think he'll be off of it before the season starts. But then Kylan Hill. So where those guys come in, it kind of shuffles this around. So hopefully there's more clarity on these injuries as we get closer to the season before I make that final 53, just so I can have it as accurate as possible. I think we're pretty close here. We're kind of just working out some of the little kinks. But for the most part, I think I have the foundation of what this Packers roster is going to look like. And on the offensive side of the ball, some question marks, but I think they look good. And on the defensive side of the ball, they look phenomenal. This defensive line, I have us keeping 5 guys. Dean Lowry, Kenny Clark, Jaron Reed, Devontae Wyatt, and TJ Slayton. Chris Slayton, I didn't even have on any even list going into training camp. He's a guy that has really showed up, and he's a guy that's kind of on the bubble. But with all the offensive linemen they're keeping, I don't see him being able to keep Chris Slayton. Maybe they do if they don't keep, or if they have Bach on the PUP list, they can keep 6 defensive linemen going into the season. It's hard to say these guys shouldn't be on the team. Slayton's really stepped up. Obviously, we have TJ Slayton too, so it gets confusing. I keep seeing Slayton, but you don't know which Slayton it is. And then, obviously, the rookie Devontae Wyatt, he's going to make the team. He's a first-rounder. And then, Dean Lowry, Kenny Clark, Jaron Reed. That's 3 right there. Wyatt's 4. And then TJ Slayton was on the team last year. That's 5 already. So, does Chris Slayton make the team? I have him as a practice squad guy here. So, just keeping 5. But like I said, with those injuries, it's guys could not start week 1, but then if you knock back or bring back in week 2, one of these other guys has to get cut. So we might be on that final 53, but not for very long, depending on what happens with these injuries. That is something to watch. So then that outside linebacker, we know that Rashawn Unleash Bane Gary is going to start. We know Preston Smith will be an opposite side of him. But what is going to happen behind those guys? I had Randy Ramsey, Jonathan Garvin making this roster on the initial 53. Ramsey has since been cut. Garvin's had a kind of an up and down camp. He might make it only because he has been in the system, but I actually have him not making it on this 53-man roster prediction. If he steps up in this next game and if he has a nice nice finish to camp here, he could be on the squad. But this is what I think is going to shake down. Tipa, Galai and Kobe Jones are going to be the fourth and fifth outside linebackers, and then JJ Enagbare, Kingsley Enagbare, he goes by JJ. I got asked today on Twitter, somebody asked me, where'd you get JJ from? And I'm like, well, that's what he wants to be called. I don't know. I just saw an interview that said, yeah, I go by JJ. So, don't get confused. That's the same guy. It's number 55. He's got Zadarius Smith's old number, but he's the rookie out of South Carolina. Big, strong, physical, quick, young, just really talented kid. He's come on really strong the last couple of weeks here of training camp. He's a lock to make it, I'm pretty sure. He was a later round draft pick, but he's just really looking good. And then, like I said, Tipa and Kobe Jones round out the 5 outside linebackers. We just need to get something from these guys. I know Gary and Preston Smith are going to do their job, but when we spell them, on some non-obvious pass rush situations, can these guys come in and make some plays? We will see. I did have Ladarius Hamilton as a guy who I thought maybe can sneak in towards the beginning of camp. He was, way ahead of some of these other guys. He was really stepping up. He looked like a guy that was going to make this team, and then he got injured, and now he's kind of been on the back burner. So we'll see if he can bounce back. I don't know if he's playing against the Saints, and if he does not play against the Saints, I think his chances of making the team are pretty slim. Half of being, being on the team is being available. You have to be able to play in order to show what you have. So it's a tough loss when you look like you're making those steps and when you're taking those strides to get to where you need to be. Looks like you're going to make the team, and then you get injured and you have a setback, and now other guys are starting to make plays, and now you lost your chance. So we'll see. That's a position battle to watch, obviously, going forward. Gary and Preston Smith have their starting roles locked up. It's basically wide open behind them, though. I have us keeping 5. Like I said, it's going to be Enagbare, Tipa, and Kobe Jones. Kobe Jones was a guy, like I said, wasn't even on my list, and now he's on the squad. Pretty awesome when you see stuff like that. So then inside linebacker, this is kind of tricky. You need special teams guy. That's why what happens with Kylan Hill, what happens with David Bakhtiari will determine, a lot of where we can keep extra guys. If we don't keep 5 outside linebackers, if we only kept 4, because that's kind of more ideal, we just don't know what's up with these guys, we could keep an extra middle linebacker. But I only have us keeping 4 because that's really all it allows for. Ty Summers is going to be the odd man out. I have Isaiah McDuffie making it as the 4th outside linebacker. Chris Barnes, obviously, was the starter last year. He'll be the 3rd outside linebacker. Pretty solid number 3. And then you have Devondre Campbell, the All-Pro, and Quay Walker, the rookie, in the middle. Those 2 guys, starters, they're going to be great. 6'3", 200, run 6'3", run a 4.3 40. Basically the same guy. Just one guy's an All-Pro, one guy's a rookie. Very athletic, super exciting to watch them kind of roam around this defense. And then McDuffie's special teams contribution is huge. That's what really is going to make him or allow him to make this team. Chris Barnes, kind of the same thing. He's a solid backup when it comes to middle linebacker, but his special teams contribution is huge, and that's why Ty Summers is kind of the odd man out. He's not a great in pass coverage. He's got an okay run stop, but I think McDuffie does more on special teams, which is why Summers will be the odd man out. We will see, though. That's a position where we could keep 5 if we keep 4 at outside linebacker, or if we only keep 9 offensive linemen. Something to watch there. And then we get to cornerback. Corner's another position where I have us keeping 6, only because the last guy's a kick returner. But maybe we keep 5 with the last guy being a kick returner. How many times do they really use 5 or 6, corners out on the field at once? Normally, you wouldn't have that many. And if they do want an extra guy back there, they'll bring in a safety and then kind of have a three safeties and then maybe four corners, and then you still have to have guys rushing the quarterback. So the corners, though, obviously Jair, he'll be All-Pro this year, starter. He's going to lock down the field. He's going to have even a better season than 2 years ago. He was hurt most of the last year, but he was off to a great start. Last time we really saw him, he was intercepting Tom Brady in the NFC Championship game twice in the second half. When the second one, I thought we were going to win for sure, and we still did not. We're not able to pull it out. But Jair's first, and then obviously Eric Stokes, the speedster second-year player out of Georgia, along with Rasul Douglas, a guy that we only signed last year because Jair got hurt. But Douglas came in, played so well, he made the Pro Bowl, got a contract this year. So we have three really excellent cornerbacks. It's gonna, we have to match up with other teams' receivers, and now we can. Kevin King is no longer the number 2 guy, no longer going to get burned. Stokes is so fast, so is Jair. Douglas is just savvy, and he's a 6'2" slot corner. That's pretty big, and he's super physical. So I'm excited to see those 3 guys play. Then after that, it gets kind of who is going to make it. There's been some guys playing really well, but Shamar John Charles was a rookie last year. I think he's kind of a lock to be that fourth corner, kind of a slot corner. He's a little bit undersized, but he knows the system, and he's a true ball hawk if he gets the opportunity. Casey Nixon, he'll be the 5. I think he makes it over Kabion Ento because of his special teams ability. He came over with Rich Bisaccia from the Raiders, and he's kind of his special teams, ace. So I think Casey makes the team based on that. He'll be the 5th corner. He does have some coverage ability. I've seen some good things out of him, so he's not a complete slouch on the back end when it comes to covering, but I think he's going to be more of that special teams ace. And then Rico Gafford, cornerback, number 6. He makes the squad because of his kick return ability. I will see how that progresses. If other guys step up, if Amari Rodgers can show that he can be the kick returner, there's no need for Gafford. And then you can have Ty Summers, or you can have Chris Slayton. I didn't really like keeping 6 here. Like I said, I like to keep 5. Hopefully they don't need to keep 6. Hopefully a different guy. If you can have a receiver be a kick returner like Rodgers, or Amari Rodgers, then you don't need to keep a guy like Rico Gafford, because you have a guy like Rodgers who can do multiple things and be that special teams guy. Having to keep a guy just for that specific role just adds one guy to the roster that kind of takes up space. So we'll see how that all plays out. Kabion Ento was on the team last year. He played well. I just think he's going to be the odd man out this year, but maybe he will surprise again and make this squad. Last year I didn't think he would, and he did, and now, again, he's got an opportunity. So maybe it won't be Gafford, it'll be Kabion Ento if Amari Rodgers can return kicks. Maybe they'll still keep 6 corners, but it won't be Gafford because they don't need him for kick returns. They'll want Kabion Ento for his coverage ability. So we'll see how that all plays out. And then we get to safety, and safety is another. There's so many different battles, but safety I have us keeping 4. Adrian Amos, starter. Darnell Savage, starter. Vernon Scott's kind of that number 3 safety now. He's the one that's been playing with the ones ever since Darnell Savage went down with an injury, and then with Amos next to him. But Savage will be 1, Amos will be 2, Sean Davis will be 3. Vernon Scott will be 3, and then Sean Davis will be 4. So that'll be their 4 safeties. I don't see him keeping 5. I do like Tyreek Carpenter. He's kind of like the middle or like linebacker safety hybrid. I don't know how they could really use him. Seems like a really solid special teams type of guy with speed, but he's big and can handle taking those hits that the special teams brings. A lot of physicality. So, but like I said, I only have him keeping 4. I have Tyreek Carpenter on the practice squad. I just don't see him making it on this team. There's not really a role for him. He's not good in pass coverage, and they're not going to just keep him just because. I think he's a guy that can be on the practice squad and probably wouldn't get taken by another team. But like I said, there's players at different positions that we may not need that many because other guys can step up and do things that, that we wouldn't normally think they could do, kick return or, all these offensive linemen we might not need. And so it'll be interesting to see how it breaks down. I'm super anxious about seeing what guys step up, who separates from who, and who kind of shows that they belong, and what guys make this team. I just wanted to kind of get another little more updated version of what's happening, what I've been seeing in camp, kind of my view on how this roster is going to break down. So that's going to be the 4 safeties, and then special teams, punter, obviously, Pat O'Donnell, that's 1. Mason Crosby,
That's one. And then long snapper Jack Coco is gonna make this team. They let go of Steve Wordle, so that's 1, 2, 3. So you have to have those three guys. So that makes 53 with the six corners, the four safeties, and then the three special teams guys. So that adds up to 53-man roster. Like I said, I do have another opportunity to change this one more time before they make that final 53-man roster at the end of training camp, right before the season starts. I'm not sure the actual date the Packers have to get cut down to 53. Remember, again, 16 guys get held over for the practice squad. Those guys are eligible to be claimed off of, basically, it's not a waivers, but it's to be claimed from the practice squad. I think the team that has them has a right to match or something or try to keep them, but for the most part, teams can come and take those guys off the practice squad if they do want them. So you have to be careful with who you put on there. If it's a guy that you think is good, but you think you need somebody at a different position, you might lose them. So that's the risk you take, and you kind of have to feel out where guys might be and who you might really need to just keep on the roster. Maybe he's a holdover for next year. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I love all the different roster battles. I love these guys really trying to figure out a way to make this roster. This is a big game for all these players that are gonna play. At least the starters and the ones know who they are. They don't have to do anything. They're not even gonna play. So it's all about these other guys, the bottom half of the 53, if you will, the guys that really make up the team and basically the foundation for the team, like the grit of the team. The year the Packers won the Super Bowl back in 2010, they had so many guys get injured. I mean, it was just a list of guys on IR and guys that weren't going to play or finish that season. And even in, right before the Super Bowl, Donald Driver gets hurt. And then in the Super Bowl, Charles Woodson gets hurt. And, it was the whole year was just nonstop injuries. But they signed, they got Frank Zombo, a name like that. But you never know who's going to step up, when they're going to step up. And, all these guys, the depth of the team really is what makes the team. Obviously, the starters are going to be the ones that get most of the glory. They're going to be the ones that make most of the plays. But some of the plays inside the plays and some of the players inside some of these situations that you don't really think about are the guys that really make the game, allow the team to win. Some of the battles on special teams that you don't really notice, a lot of that stuff is so important, as you saw back in the divisional round against the Niners when the Packers got a punt blocked. A.J. Dillon was not in for that play. Maybe that was an issue with the blocking assignments up front. It looked like the guy who got the block was basically allowed to just run freely in and get the block. So was a communication issue, blocking assignment issue, and stuff like that gets cleaned up when you have guys out there who have been doing it. And that's why Rich Bisaccia has been saying, I like having the starters be out on special teams. You have guys that know what's going on, and they were saying that, like, you send some guys out there that are cold, that have been just kind of waiting for their special teams chance. They're not really ready to play. So you keep these starters kind of fresh and they're already warmed up and ready to go and kind of keep their mind in the game and all that. And it's really a good concept. I like the idea. Obviously, there's a risk reward with any decision you make. There's more chance for injuries, and special teams are when guys get hurt. We saw that with A.J. Dillon last year. Got hurt his chest early in that game against the Niners and was unavailable in the second half, and that's when we usually run him, and we didn't have him at our disposal to use. There was a lot of, like, we handed off to Jones twice. He couldn't go anywhere, and then Rodgers tried to force it, and it was just bad situation. There was so many games last year where towards the end we needed to kind of run the clock and pound the ball out, and we just give it to Dillon, and he gets 6 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards, 5 yards, just enough every time to keep the sticks moving and knock us down the field and basically run the clock out. So that's what we needed last year, and we didn't have it. But that's why the depth is so important. That's why these preseason games, they do matter. These guys, are really fighting for their lives here, fighting for their dreams here. And that's what makes it exciting for me to watch as a fan and as a guy just trying to report on what the Packers are doing and everything. It's just I've been so fascinated by all the scheming and the strategy behind football forever, but now coming at it from a different angle, just looking at it from an approach where it's like, how do you build this team to really fit what you're trying to do? It seems like this defense on paper looks like it's designed beautifully, just with power and speed up front and speed off the edge and guys that can cover, and then guys in the back. It's just the defense looks like it could be elite. The offense is going to take a little while to get up to speed, but I think if they ride the running game, which they can do, it's going to help these young offensive linemen and young receivers kind of come on a little bit, not put so much pressure on them, and allow them to kind of develop into, whatever they're going to become, which hopefully is, at least receivers that can play well in this league. There's going to be ups and downs all season with these rookies. You just hope there's more ups than downs, and you hope that the downs don't cause the team to lose. You hope it's maybe like a first quarter drop or something, not a fourth quarter drop where it ends up turning into a pick six or something like that. So knock on wood. But that is the 53-man roster prediction, updated 2.0 version before the Saints game, and we'll do another one before the start of the season, right before they make the official 53-man roster. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. I guess that helps the logarithm or whatever and all that stuff. But, yep, go Pack, go, and I'll check you guys in the next video.